Hey, there it goes. That was a lot longer than it should have taken. All right. Well, welcome, guys, to another episode of Spilling Ink. We are the talk show that takes you behind the book to meet the authors and professionals in the publishing industry. And it's going to be a light show today. It's just me and Jane right now. We may have a few people pop in a little bit later. But today you guys get us. So we're going to have a little bit of a different show than normal. We're actually going to open the floor up to viewers to ask questions, to bring up topics. And then when we don't have that, we're just going to fill the time with our rambling. Right, Jane?
Right. Yeah. I mean, we're really good at that.
But
and when Jason pops in, if he pops in.
King of the derailers, right?
Yes.
All right, well, let's get the business out of the way first. We always have to give credit to our sponsors. And our first sponsor of the evening is Go Indie Now. They are the online indie artist network who offers exciting new content weekly, monthly, and seasonally. All of which highlights and supports and promotes indie artists of all art forms. And you can find them out at goindienow.com, subscribe to their YouTube channel, and follow them on Facebook. This Thursday, Go Indie Now is actually going to be hosting a town hall at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on both their Facebook Live and their YouTube channels. And this is going to highlight the Black Lives Matter movement and what we as artists can do to be a part of it, to understand it. They're going to open the floor up to questions, and all questions will be answered during that town hall. So definitely check that out this Thursday. Again, it's going to be at, what time did you say? 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I always got to get the time zones right because I screw up time zones. And that will be on both Facebook and YouTube channels for Go Indie Now. So remember, it's always time to go Indie Now. All right. So, Jane, how are we doing this week?
We're finally settled into the new home in New Hampshire. So This is the new, living room view. I wasn't going to do the dining room today because, I had a faux pas with water earlier, and I didn't want to have another faux pas on the nice cherry table.
Totally understandable.
So I am here in our new living room. So
I'm jealous of that view. Oh my God, look at the greenery behind you.
Welcome to the mountains and the forest and the land where moths are this big.
That right there is your mystical forest, like pure inspiration for whatever fantasy stories.
Well, we did have one try to fly in when we were moving our hi Julia, our mattress in the door on last Friday night, not yesterday, but last Friday night at 1:30 in the morning, and this lunar moth, no lie, was this big, and it was bright green. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful moth, but it's just like, what the hell is that?
Don't eat all my clothes, right?
Exactly. All they need to do is chomp twice, and it's gone.
Right. Yeah.
So. Moths don't get as much credit as they should. Poor little ugly butterflies.
Yes, I am wearing this
furry butterflies, not ugly, but they are a little fuzzier.
Yes,
they are. I like moths. I think they're cute in their own way.
Well, it's a lunar moth, so if you look that up online, I mean, they're vibrantly beautiful and big. The poor guys who were moving us, were definitely from city living. And, when these things were flying around, they were like, what are those bats? and they didn't want to get out of the truck. So we were not about to have them move us in at 1:30 in the morning either.
Oh.
So
you didn't have much luck with the moving company, did you, Jane?
They ended up coming. The guys who moved us ended up coming through for us. So I'll just put it that way. They got it done along with my husband. So there were actually 4 movers if you count my husband. So really, the moving company owes us money. owes us manual labor.
Right.
But yeah, no, we got here and we're finally settled. So I'm back on. Last week there was no way.
Oh no,
right.
We wouldn't have expected you at all.
No, we got the furniture got moved in by 12:30. So didn't say bats. The guy's moving us.
Or movers, yeah. I always find it funny when like big burly men get all girly and squealy about bugs or stuff.
These were not big burly men. These were not big burly men, though. They were no bigger than my husband.
Oh, see, I expect like movers to be muscles.
Yes. Yeah.
Jane's like the queen in her chair. Look at that.
Yeah, she's just like.
Well, I also have a back thing. I don't have it on because apparently it's like a little back massager and it buzzes, and apparently it makes a lot of noise downstairs where everybody is. Where my in-laws are, they came up and they're like, "What are you doing?" So yes.
That's funny because you were asking me right beforehand if I could hear it, and I'm like, no, I don't hear anything. And then your mother-in-law comes up and she's like, "What are you doing?"
I have this back massager. It vibrates everything around it, apparently.
Yup.
Sounds like a good back massager, though. Jeez.
See? This thing.
Oh, nice. Contoured and everything.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh yeah, right in the lower back, and it's wonderful.
So Jane, since you've got all that beautiful inspiration behind you, are you writing?
I am hoping to finally sit down and write tomorrow.
Okay.
I have not been on the computer much at all this week because at the end of the workday, the computers went away and the boxes needed to be unpacked. We had 84 boxes.
Oh wow. Yeah. Nightmare.
Yes, exactly. And I think 40 of them are out in the dumpster we got now.
Okay, I gotta ask this because I'm a box hoarder, and even as I moved into my new place, I was like, no, we need to save the good boxes for the next time we move because there will be
good boxes. Yeah.
So I've always been a hoarder.
All our totes we kept. So those are the plastic boxes.
Yeah, you got to keep the plastic bins.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
And we moved some things into those from the other boxes that were going downstairs for the kids. So, but we had 20 large boxes and 20 medium boxes of the cardboard ones. So, or maybe more. I don't know what we had. It was just obscene.
I move all my clothes in garbage bags. I'm like, not even doing the boxes. We're not getting all fancy and bougie over here. We're just straight up trash bags. Moving companies won't take trash bags.
The movers wouldn't. So it was So it was like, okay, so we have to. So I got these big ass totes. I mean, really, 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 really big ones that all our clothes went in.
I use those for my books. My books need the Rubbermaid bins for sure. Start stacking piles of books in there, and then throw the clothes in the bags and get out of there. Right.
Well, at home we had two bookcases, which are up here, and then we had all these built-in bookcases. So I had mega books and mega places for movies and things like that. Here we have two bookcases. And I'm like, as we're filling it in, I said, I need 2 shelves for my stuff.
Right.
And he's looking at me. I said, 2 shelves for mine. I don't care what goes anywhere else, but and literally I've got 50 books. so I'm like, I had to put
rub it in a little bit more. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, some of them I put the trilogy books up instead of the individual ones, so I had room.
Oh, trash bags. Trash bags.
Trash bags. Yeah.
When I moved in the van across
town,
15 trips, I swear, in the van, I piled up. I did like the laundry bag style with the trash bags. So I just folded them up over the hangers and laid them flat.
Yep.
I filled my entire car, like top to bottom, with trash bag filled with clothes for all the closets.
So Katie and I both moved recently. So during the COVID stuff and all of this, I know. I know affected me and the writing, being able to sit down and write. I know it affected her as well. So we're trying to get back into the groove.
Right.
And it's very difficult.
we need your help. And then we're talking about not only you, Julia, but we need our audience too. We need some ideas. We need some inspiration, some motivation.
Yes. Yeah.
We need to start doing sprints again. I haven't done a sprint in like a month. Because I was freaking out last month because I was like, oh, I need to finish my book. And then I finished my book and I was like, I'm not going to think about writing for a long time. Right. And so now I'm like, I need to start plotting the second book. Mm-hmm. And then I got sick. As Katie knows, I am on like 3 different medications for a sore throat, throat issues and swollen tonsils and stuff. And I just like slept all day. I woke up and I had like a sinus migraine. And then, because I'm on steroids and antibiotics and like all this other stuff, my stomach was just like, you can't take any of your pills without throwing up violently. Yeah. So it like took me an hour just to take my pills. I was just like sitting there like chewing on a bagel, like just trying to survive my life, Yeah. So I was like, I'll get so much done today because I'll actually be awake during the day for once.
It's like
I woke up at 6:30 and I was like, my sister had gone out and bought yogurt, so I was just like eating yogurt.
Yep.
That was my life today, literally. And then Katie's like, hey, be on the show. And I was like, 5 minutes to put my face on,
I don't have a face on. I'm like,
you don't need a face on. My face is like bright red from the steroids, and like I've got like bags under my eyes being sick, and I'm just like red panda raccoon right now.
I keep adjusting these because I showed Katie. I only have one thing.
Oh no!
Murphy's Law.
Yes. So,
you need a new notepad, yeah.
That happened this week too. I was trying to adjust this side and it snapped right off of my head. I'm like, oh. But then I'm like, okay, I can still see out of the glasses if I adjust it just so. Mm-hmm. If I don't, everything's blurry because I'm blind as a bat.
Right.
But no, we are trying to get back into the writing groove.
Right. Yes. And I know you guys don't plot, so I can't ask for your advice on plotting, but
it's not that we don't plot. It's that it's not the same style of plotting as like the big board with everything written all on it. It's
right.
Oh, I don't go all out like that. Like I know some people who plot like
chapter by chapter
within chapters. No, like chapter by chapter. Like I'll do like in this chapter, like this is the one big thing that happens, and then that'll be fine because it'll get me the plot throughout the whole story. So then I can be like, okay, I sit down, I know this happens, but I can kind of play around with everything else that happens in the chapter. Getting from one point to another. That's not too much for me. But like I know people who will do like full arcs within each chapter, and then those chapters arc with the 3 chapters, and then those arc with the and they get really intense with it, and that is too much for me.
Isn't that like writing the book?
Basically, and they draft right there,
and they are able to write the book in like 30 days, which I am not. But
more power to you. Good job.
Right. So I mean, everyone's process is different. Whatever works for them, And I find every time I write a book, I find a different process works. So I'm constantly like changing, like and tweaking little things because what worked for book 1 does not work for book 3.
Oh yeah.
For me, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I need to edit. I finished book 1 last month and I was very happy. And now I need to edit. And I'm like,
edit something until you hate it.
Right.
That's when I know I'm done. When I absolutely hate the book, I'm like, I gotta walk away now.
I feel like I hate it. Like just looking at all the comments from Rebekah, like. I mean, I knew it needed work because I do very bare bones, like with dialogue and stuff. And so I'm like, help me, edit, put a lot of comments in. And then I see all the comments and I'm like, overwhelmed, too many comments, I love editing other people's stuff, but when it comes to my own, it's just like I put so much pressure, like writing the first draft, I don't feel as much pressure because I'm like, it's not meant to be perfect, but like editing is when you're meant to make it perfect. So now I'm like, how do I make it perfect?
Yeah.
That really messes with my mind, I swear.
That's when you got to pass it off to a beta reader.
Right.
And get the feedback to tell you where to perfect rather than, going crazy over figuring out what to perfect yourself.
Well, it's got comments all over it because Becca edited it. So it's not like I don't know where I need to do stuff. I'm just like, it's the how to make it perfect while I'm doing that like trips me up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the overwhelming
plot holes and forgotten threads. Absolutely. Yeah, I know the current book I'm writing is going to have a lot of holes that I got to fill in, but
right.
At this point, I just want to try to get it to the end of the story. I'm still at that dinner.
Wow.
that dinner scene. I haven't gotten very, very, farther than I was the last time we spoke about it.
I can't really say anything because I'm still essentially the same spot I was into. So yeah.
You did get your 20,000 words though.
I did. I hit the 20,000 mark, which is usually when the story gets easier for me.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling I've got to alter my plot idea because I keep drawing a blank on the 3 instances I need.
Yeah.
And until I figure those out, I can't seem to move forward. And I keep going back over original chapters rather than pushing forward.
Yeah.
Right. I think you're probably doing a little bit of what I'm doing. It's like a mind trip where you're like putting pressure on yourself to perform, and then that's like making you procrastinate actually trying because there's so much pressure. We do that to ourselves as writers, and we do that to ourselves. I know I'm a perfectionist, so I'm like, oh, it has to be perfect. Like I can't just like muddle through a couple of ideas and then go back and fix it later. Like I gotta nail it the first time, so like, yeah, but no, it's like the truth is like you can edit it as many times as you need to. You can rewrite it as many times as you need to. So like if it's a crappy idea, like try writing it anyways and see what happens. You might like come up with something brilliant in the middle of it.
Right. And that's very true. The sometimes throwing shit at a wall approach is the approach you need. You can always clean it up later or get rid of it, but you at least getting something on the page does help.
Yeah, getting your brain working. Yeah.
Exactly. That one day that you guys, I said I needed inspiration. They're like, let's do a sprint. I'm like, but I don't know what I'm gonna write. And they're like, we're doing a sprint anyway. And I'm like, I'm just gonna write hi over and over and over until I write something.
Right. Yeah.
I literally just sat hi. And eventually I figured a conversation out in my head and I started writing the conversation.
Yeah, that was a great combo. You shared it with us. I've done that where I'll just be like, I don't know what to write. And then sentences will just start coming and you just like flow into the actual story.
Yeah. It's like I'll figure it out as I go. Just write whatever seems logical in my head at the moment. And sometimes it's not logical at all, but sometimes it's like, ooh, okay, that makes sense now. I told you, Katie, that I introduced somebody in there and I'm like, oh, does he have to go or what is this? This is going to make decisions much harder.
Right. But that's when you do like turn to your friend and be like, okay, I have this idea. How does it sound to you? Or like, what can I do instead of doing this? Like soundboarding and like bouncing ideas off of other people is like so awesome.
So helpful.
Exactly. And
just
crappy ideas can morph into better ideas as you're writing them.
Yep. Just writing is the key. I haven't sat down to just write. And that's been my bad, but moving and all of this was draining as hell. So
right. Yeah.
Now I'm feeling, for most of the week, I was not myself, not at all. I was exhausted. I was mentally, challenged and all of that. And even at my day job, I was just like, very, very, very flighty, which I'm normally not. Sometimes I am.
Sometimes we all are a little, yeah.
It's a lot.
Just like, memory, I mean, things like that have just been slipping my mind, and that I'm like an elephant normally.
Well, that's a lack of sleep and everything. Like I was talking to someone and I was saying how awful I've been at just like taking care of myself the last 2 weeks. Like as far as getting sleep, as far as eating on time, like I'm still eating, but I'm like eating like 3 hours behind my schedule and like wondering why I'm so hangry, you know? Like I'm ready to rip people's heads off and it's just like, oh, I wonder why. Maybe because I'm hungry, you know?
Exactly.
You know, even like, you know, little things like when I need to relax, just like taking a bath, like I just have like been denying myself and being like, oh, I need to do this, and this, and like just like pushing myself and taking myself to task. And then it's like, and then I wonder why like mentally I'm like, oh, I can't handle anything. Because I'm not taking care of myself. Jane, we have to take care of ourselves.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I wasn't sleeping at all. I mean, Thursday night into Friday, I didn't sleep because I was excited. I was really excited. You know, we're moving, we're, you know, doing that. And as Friday came, you know, progressed, that turned from excitement to anger.
Yep.
Anger.
And you woke up with a migraine, probably from lack of sleep, you know.
And then Friday night here, we had the mattress on the floor. I had, thankfully, my in-laws have sheets in the closet, but they're queen sheets, not the king sheets. So, you know, I just threw them down, and I didn't have our pillows.
Oh no!
So I folded towels. So I got like 2 hours of sleep.
And a
Saturday night, and then we were going from. I woke up at 5, so we were going from 5 o'clock in the morning until. I think we went to bed after midnight, and that was just go, 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 go. So
doing physical labor too. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I stepped on the scale this morning. So since February, 11.5 pounds gone.
We won't talk about scales. I just went to the doctor and I gained, and I was like, that's life, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm surprised. I don't know. Maybe not because it was all stress, I'm sure. All stress, weight loss. So
I'd take it though. It's still weight loss.
Exactly. 11.5 pounds. So
there you go.
You know, and 3 of it from during the last week.
Make sure you're drinking water though. You don't want that to just be dehydration. Yeah. Good.
I drink. This is 20 ounces. I drink at least 3 of these a day.
Oh, that's amazing. I am so bad. Like I'll drink stuff, but I don't drink water. Which is like really bad. Really bad, I know, but
hey, look at that. She made it.
Yay. Hi, Linda.
I made it, and I'm on my phone, but better than not at all. My computer was giving me huge headaches, so I apologize.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's life, right? Murphy's Law.
There you go. Yeah. Well, good. Since we've got you then, and since, you know, we've already chatted on for a little bit, let's jump right in and have you introduce yourself and tell our audience all about you and your book.
Okay, my name's Linda Plunkett, and in 2016, I authored the book Supernatural Rescue. And this is a true life memoir. I had developed a brain tumor in late 2012, had a near-death experience, and went through a lot of pain and suffering. And basically, I wanted to write the book for other people that were also experiencing pain and suffering. It was such a dark time for me, and I didn't have a book. I didn't know anyone going through anything like the experiences I was having at that time. And so I feel the book has been really valuable in reaching other people who are going through difficult times and they don't know who to reach out to. They feel very alone. And I was definitely in that situation in late 2012 and 2013.
That's absolutely important. You're right. A lot of
people wrote that. Yeah.
To find information to help them.
Well, I was a psychologist. I still am a psychologist, had been in practice for almost 20 years. And I was in perfect health, never had an issue with my health. And then suddenly to have a brain surgery, not be able to walk, to talk, to think, and basically shut down my entire life. It was devastating. Plus, on top of that, I felt like God had left me, and I just felt totally alone and totally isolated.
Mm.
But I've been really using my experiences to reach other people. I do inspirational speaking. I've spoken for a number of groups, do frequent podcasts, and you really use every opportunity I can to reach other people. This has been really not so much about really writing a book to make money, but there again, to really reach people who need my help.
Right.
Yeah, I have a niece who has moya moya. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's not tumor, but it requires brain surgery, and she's had two. Well, she started this when she was 19 at college, actually up in Plymouth, where I am now, and she had a stroke.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
And
you know, it's terrible when
thing is tough.
Oh, you know, and if you've never been there and you've known absolutely no one who's gone through that, just to feel so empty, totally empty and so alone, it really is devastating. But one thing I can say, I've learned so much that now I can reach out and touch other people's lives, and people understand that I have been there and I know what it's like, but not many people have been down that road.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a tough road to go down and recover from. You know?
Well, about 3 months after my surgery, my brain was so messed up. I did learn to walk again. I learned to communicate a little bit, but my brain was really messed up. I couldn't open my practice. I couldn't really do anything. And so I went to a major medical institution and I said, test me, you know, put me through tests, tell me what you can do to help me get better. And they came back and they said, there's nothing we can do for you. And I thought, I can't live like this. I have to find a way to get better. And so in time I did. And the next book I want to write is going to be just about that, about how did I get better mentally, physically, even spiritually, when I really was at ground zero and I was told there was no help and no hope.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's really important to be like a good patient advocate for yourself with doctors, and making sure that you're being listened and heard to with the issues and what you want to work on and where you want to go next.
But the trouble is, you know, at times there's not a lot of information, and this was a major medical institution that said, we can't help you. There's nothing we can do. And so my feelings at the time were, I can't live like this. I have to find a way. And so I started reading books by brain doctors, and eventually through changes physically, emotionally, spiritually, just across the board, learning to solve my own problems, I found a way to get better. But it was a very difficult, very dark time.
I'd imagine you have to have a really good support network around you to help keep you up during that point too.
And that's true. And I did. I had my husband, I had close friends and family members, and you know, they did not give up, but there was a part of me at times, I just really wanted to throw in the towel. And even when I started to feel better about 8 months later, I woke up one morning, I had pain all over my body and I couldn't sleep anymore. And they said it was fibromyalgia. And I spent several years then trying to recover from the fibromyalgia.
Yeah,
so it was a long haul.
That's a hard one too. One of my close friends is disabled from fibromyalgia. So
yeah.
So,
but they do say it's caused by a trauma, and for most people, I had trauma. In my case, it was an 8-hour brain surgery. At least that's what I was told. But other people have had other, you know, physical, mental conditions that have caused that, and it is a little different for everybody. I've talked to other people, and it's not the same for everybody. But I have learned a lot, and I'm grateful, even having to go through all that pain. I have a lot of advice I can give people now on how to improve your brain and how to get your body physically fit again, and even how to mend your spiritual relationship if you had doubts or you had a crisis of faith, which I even went through a crisis of faith, although I had been a believer in God my whole life. So it can really hit you on many dimensions when you're physically ill.
Was writing the book part of your healing process as well?
I think so. There again, it was a very dark place for me, and I wanted to be able to write a book that could give other people hope that no matter what, how bad it was for them, that they could, no matter what major doctors or medical institutions would tell them, there's still a chance to get better, and that with God, all things are possible. And so my nonprofit has been called Hope for the Hurting. And so through 15 to 20 years of counseling, I tried to give hope for the hurting, but now I'm offering it in different ways via writing and speaking. And also, I just developed an online course to help people so that they can get the help online. So many people want to go to counseling, they want to get help, but they don't have time in their busy schedules. So the program that I've developed will help people fit that in their schedule wherever they can make the time. For some people on their lunch hour, for other people maybe after work or early in the morning, but it gives them the flexibility.
That's the hardest thing today is finding time to squeeze anything in. It feels like even when our days aren't packed, they feel like they're packed end to end with things to do, requirements people have of you, things that you might have put off that now can't be put off anymore. So it's hard to really do anything for self-care, which we were talking about earlier. Self-care is so important to being productive.
Yeah.
And that's very true. And when I was counseling, people would say, how long will it take? And to get started, really 3 to 6 months in therapy and say weekly sessions. But I've developed now a 90-day program that people can do in their spare time. So it does give people flexibility without having to leave their homes.
Right. And I found with therapy, as far as like how long it takes to see progress, is really like, what are you willing to put into it? Like, are you willing to do the hard work and do those, push past, whether it's traumas or like blocks that you have in your own development that you're like, I know I need to work on this, but I'm not ready to yet. Like, putting it off, means you need to go for longer. It's so hard to put a time frame on like when to get better.
And that's very true. And I think it's easy to put off and procrastinate, but the longer you procrastinate, then your progress and seeing the healing. And I mean, it's worth it. I grew up with a lot of issues, and if you can put the time in, you won't be sorry, because it will change your life. From now on, your life can be different. And that's exciting, knowing you can have a new future.
Absolutely.
I think people struggle.
Yeah, I'm a success story for therapy for sure. I have a panic disorder and I'm bipolar as well. And with my panic disorder, I was having 2 to 3 panic attacks a day, and started doing CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy, and really put in the time to like retrain my thinking and all that stuff, and rational thoughts about, turning from catastrophic thinking to being like, what is really the likelihood that my sister is going to end up in a ditch on the drive home? And, things like that. And
right.
Reevaluating how you're automatically thinking about stuff. And I haven't had a panic attack in 6 to 8 months.
Well, that is wonderful. And, anxiety is the number one mental disorder. I suffered from depression when I was younger. I never had anxiety until I had the brain tumor and I was in the MRI. I was in the MRI machine and I had a panic attack. And it was one of the most horrible things that I've ever been through. So I can really feel for you, how bad that must have been, what you went through.
Right.
How, I ask a question on the CBT, you said cognitive behavioral therapy. How does that work? Like, what do you actually do to retrain that thought?
Well, it takes time, and really you have to challenge your own thinking. You have to start by challenging your own thinking. And because some people are so ingrained in their own thinking, it's hard for them to think, any other way, but it's a step-by-step process. But being open and realizing what I'm doing right now is not working. Therefore, I will be open to trying something new. and giving it a chance. And like we say, it takes 30 days to create a new habit. So you may have to really work on one thing for 30 days. But if you're really willing to work on that one thing in 30 days, you can see huge change. But it does take
For me,
that commitment.
For me, it was twofold. One was recognizing my thought pattern. So the black and white thinking, either I did really awesome or the worst thing's going to happen. Catastrophic thinking, the worst thing that possibly could happen is going to happen. That kind of traumatic thinking where you're like, something bad happened once, so it's going to happen every time. So recognizing that those are kind of your automatic ways of thinking helps. And then thought records. So getting a journal and sitting down and saying, okay, I'm going to write out, how I feel, the fear, the anger, the sadness that I'm feeling. And then I'm going to sit down and write kind of those panicking thoughts, Sissy's home late, so she's in a ditch somewhere. And then you sit there and, those automatic thoughts that you have that you're like, okay, these aren't rational, but this is what I'm freaking out about,
Right.
And then you sit there and say, well, what are the rational answers to this? Like, what is the actual, the likelihood that this actually something bad happened is maybe 15% at most, looking at the way car accidents happen. They don't, they can happen, but they're not super likely. And, just kind of giving yourself those rational answers to be like, okay, these are what I'm thinking, but this is like the likelihood of the situation. Most of the time she's fine. She just left work late and forgot to tell me, or because she was tired and she just didn't text, going through. And the more you think about those rational answers, the more likely they come up first rather than those panic thoughts.
Exactly. And it truly is retraining your mind and being willing to challenge that and to really think about it in a new and different way, which it sounds like you've been doing. You've been doing a very good job working on that.
Thank you. Yeah. With my therapist, I'm all about like, what are some coping strategies? I know I'm going to be anxious about this. So what are some coping strategies that I can have on hand, whether that's breathing technique, grounding techniques, That's the great thing about therapy is they give you the skills you need to do it yourself in the moment, because that's what's hard when you're in that moment of anxiety and panic and you're like, how do I get out of this hole that I'm in? And the same thing with depression. Like I'm bipolar, I have depressive episodes. You're in that hole. Now what are things I can do to get out?
Exactly. But it is, and it is a process, and you have to be willing to work through that process. But eventually, as it becomes a habit, you'll have such a relief knowing that you can let your past go and you can move into the future with what is working better for you and making you into a happier person.
Yeah,
I congratulate you.
Yes, congratulations on that.
It's hard. It really is. It's very hard.
Yeah, Julia, your anxiety about when your sister's coming home. That's every mother. That's every mother when their child is late.
Exactly.
And you go through the range of emotions. Okay, I'm angry. Then I'm sad. Then I'm scared. Then I'm angry. Then I'm sad. Then I'm scared.
Right. You're cycling through the what could have possibly happened,
and they don't answer their phone, so it makes it worse.
And then they're driving and the phone's in the purse and they just don't answer it and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah. That's every mother. That's
very true. And they don't mean it intentionally. They really excuse me. They don't mean it intentionally, but it happens. It just happens.
Oh, I forgot.
Yeah, the mind naturally goes for the worst case scenario.
Right. But Katie, knowing you go for the worst case scenario can help you because you're thinking this is my automatic thought, but it's probably not the most likely thing that happened because I know I go for the worst case scenario. That's why I said for me it was twofold, knowing kind of my quirky thoughts that were not rational, and then I could be okay, I know I'm not your typical person and I automatically go for car in a ditch.
You
So
go for the writing thing. You go,
Right.
that's the writer's mind.
Well, see, there you go. You're as the writer, you're supposed to see all angles, including the bad ones. And
Yes.
so you're seeing the entire picture thing play out.
right. Yeah. Sometimes our imaginations can get the worst of us in a lot of ways.
Oh, then
Very
you-
true.
That's the worst.
Very true.
You text them, "Where the hell are you? Why didn't you text me?" And they answer back, you're like, "You're driving. Don't text me while you're driving."
But like Linda was saying, writing can also be really therapeutic. And when you have isolating experiences, being able to kind of have that representation, whether you're writing yourself for like past you, you know, or you're just getting that viewpoint that you've lived through out into the world, like that can be a really awesome thing too. I was always kind of a little hesitant to write about being by POC, but with this new series, I was like, you know, it's time, and I wish it's a book that I wish I had when I was younger, to see that representation and stuff. And so it kind of has been a little therapeutic for me to be like, you know, get over those like fears that like no one wants to read this because, you know, it's a different perspective, you know.
But you would be shocked how many people are going through what you're going through. And, you know, it's good.
Right.
It gives them comfort to know they're not alone.
Right. I think that is so important.
Absolutely.
Well, and on the catharsis angle, you can explore those feelings and see them, both the good and the bad, put them into your writing so that somebody else will understand the you know, the huge highs and the very deep lows that happen for a character that is having the same type of episodes that you might have.
Yeah. I definitely write anxious characters now for sure too. Because you know, I get it on such a deep level, and so like kind of like normalizing that kind of thinking. I think, you know, with mental health, we have such a hard time talking about it without the stigma. So I think it's really important to just like show it as it is, and people can see it and recognize themselves in it and be like, I'm not alone. Like you were saying, you know, knowing you're not alone is so empowering.
Very true. Very, very, very true. And I think, you know, all of us feel like we're the only one that's going through something when there's so many more people than what we would realize. But people are embarrassed, or they don't want to talk about it, or they feel other people will be critical of them. And what we always have to realize, there's always critics, but we have to get past that. We have to say, you know, in my case, especially if I can help one person, I don't really care. You know, I do care, but I don't care because I'm there for the people that need me. Not everybody needs what I have to say, but like in your case, maybe not everybody needs that. The people that need it, they're going to be very appreciative of your honesty and your transparency as you write this.
Right.
I think a lot of times people don't connect because they don't have the actual empathy. If they haven't felt it, they don't know how to connect to it. So being able to read something that can explain those feelings can give a sense of empathy to somebody who just doesn't understand because they've never felt it.
Very true. That's very true.
I think reading in general makes you more empathetic because you're literally putting yourself in someone else's perspective, in someone else's shoes, and experiencing their life that way. And then you're saying, okay, now I know what it feels like to be this way because I'm getting their thoughts, I'm getting their emotions. You know, things like panic attacks, when you talk about, like, everyone knows what it's like to like get afraid and suddenly break out into a sweat and then feel self-conscious because why are you sweating in the middle of a crowd for no reason on an elevator and your face is turning red, and, you know, but like things like that really make it, you know, everyone knows what that feels like. And so then you're like, oh, I get it now.
That's true. That's really true. And for everybody, it's something a little bit different. I was getting very sweaty and anxious when I couldn't get online today. And I'm thinking, something said, just use your phone. Use your phone. Why didn't I think of that 30 minutes earlier instead of battling through my computer on a technical side, which I've had way too much experience. Sometimes you're better just to try to make it simple if you can. You know, sometimes we overcomplicate things. And if you can make it a little more simple, get past the complications, that's a good thing too.
Yeah,
Well, we're glad you were able to join us. Yeah.
absolutely.
Finally, better late than never.
Linda, the first time I was on Spilling Ink, I was on my phone too.
Were you? Okay. Then I
Yes,
don't
yes.
feel so bad.
And I
I
had the
really don't feel
Christmas
so
tree right
bad.
behind me.
I've had so many battles on my computer, and I'm not a technical person. And I guess if I were technical, I could learn how to bypass some of those issues, but I just haven't figured it out. I have a PhD degree in psychology, but it makes no difference. I don't have a clue half the time when I'm on my computer.
Right.
There's always something
Totally
that
different
gets us.
kinds of smartness. Yeah.
Yep, there's always something.
So Linda,
There
where are
again.
you out of?
I'm sorry?
Where are you out of? I see the sun. There's still light where you are. It's dark.
Well, I'm in Asheville, North Carolina right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
So you're on the East Coast.
Yeah, normally I'm in Florida, but the weather just got too hot. So I came up to Asheville for a break, and I saw my first black bear today alongside the road. So that was exciting.
Yeah.
He was just waiting by the road, waiting for the cars to pass so he could cross the road. And I heard they were here, but I had never seen one. So that was exciting.
That is exciting. Are you dealing with a dust storm right now?
A storm?
Dust storm.
No dust storm. No, not in Asheville.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. We haven't gotten it up here, and I'm in New Hampshire, so.
Oh.
I'm in so yeah, and we got an outside camera. We got to get a few more because we want to capture the bears.
Oh, you got bears too.
You have bears also.
Yep.
You have we have wild turkeys also. Do you have wild turkeys?
At times, yeah, but not so much up here, but down in Connecticut, we absolutely did. So, but yeah, no, there's been bears around here. There's been bobcats, foxes, and things like that. So I can't wait to get it on camera.
You have all the fun stuff up where you're at.
I just moved here, Linda, so.
I'm jealous of all the greenery.
Yes. Well, I told you can visit. You can visit.
Oh, I will. Don't tap me. I will.
Yeah, when Katie came to Michigan, she's like, trees. Trees everywhere.
Better than the desert, right?
I wouldn't shut up about the trees. Everywhere we went, I was like, oh my God, it's so green.
Yep.
What's every shade of brown where I live? Living in the desert, I don't see natural greenery.
So Asheville is more in the Smoky Mountains, or is it?
Yeah, it's at the edge of the mountains.
Okay.
And the great thing about Asheville is in the winter, you can still get in and out of your road about an hour from here on the slopes. No, that's another story. You might have an hour away, but the scenery is beautiful. And I mean, the hills are beautiful, but we don't have as much trouble in the winter maneuvering, getting around in the higher mountains.
We have to talk about this little comment by Bruce here. Linda, you do competitive ballroom dancing.
Ooh.
I do. And I have to tell you, if you want to see a quick synopsis of what I went through, go to my website, which is lindasPlunkett.com, and click the About section, and you'll see a beautiful video that basically tells the story of my book, Supernatural Rescue, but in a video form.
Okay.
When I do public speaking, I'll play the video. Everybody's in tears, but it gets everybody's attention. And it's kind of an unusual medium for telling the story, but I'm very blessed and grateful that we were able to do that dance video because it's very powerful.
We will make sure to have your link in our show notes at the end of the show so that all our followers can find it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And that was part of my therapy. After I learned to walk again, I went back dancing. My balance was terrible. I had to go through months learning how to walk, but actually something about dancing that helps my brain and also helps my balance. So it's been very helpful to me, both physically, but also for my brain.
That's
awesome.
Fantastic.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And I was, after the surgery, like 50 pounds overweight because they put me on so many steroids. So that's another story about learning how to lose weight and eat healthy again and exercise. I learned so much that I feel I can pass on to other people. But, sometimes our pain, and, we were talking about anxiety as well, but that pain can be something very transforming, that when you realize you can touch someone else and you can help them, then it's a bad thing.
Right, right. It's amazing how the brain works, though, because, like when you think about why we sing lullabies and songs to children and nursery rhymes, it's because it helps them learn how to talk. So we have singing that helps us learn how to talk, and then we have dancing, which helps us learn how to walk. Like it's just amazing how that works. Like the musicality and stuff can get your brain to really like capture
and dancing
things.
Takes so many different things. It takes coordination. It takes balance. You're counting as far as your steps. And there's a lot going on there.
Yes. And, they have found as people get older and they're battling dementia and Alzheimer's, that dancing can really be something that's very, very helpful for people as they get older as well. And I personally was not privileged to dance until I was in my 50s. And then with the tumor and the surgery, I couldn't even walk. But it has been such a great thing. And I have been so grateful, even though it was later in life, to really have learned how to dance and to still, even at this point, be able to dance competitively. It really is a blessing.
So I applaud you on your journey. Yeah.
I'm grateful to God, because I honestly feel like at times I'm still a mess. And, but, I feel like I think my faith, it just carries me, knowing, and this can help with anxiety sometimes too, knowing that there's a higher power and that you're not alone. And that like God will carry me in my weakness. I'll feel weak, but his strength just carries me through my dark times. And so I just wanted to put that out there. I know faith is a very individual thing, but for me, I'm really not sure I could have made it through everything I've been through if God were not there and I did not have him to rely on in my life.
Amen.
Such an inspiration. Wow.
I just got chills.
I am blown away. I am.
Yeah, your story is amazing, what you've been through and how far you've come from that. And you should have some faith in yourself too, that you were able to like be your advocate, do the reading, and really find your path through hell that you were going through.
But it really was coming from such a low point. There was a point that I cried out to God and I said, God, why am I still alive? Because I was struggling and having so much pain, emotionally. And I don't know if you believe in supernatural things, but I did have a near-death experience. I felt God rescued me. But also at one point when I got so angry and so upset, late at night, an angel came to my bedroom. A light literally came through the ceiling and there was a figure on the other side. And although the figure didn't say anything, I really believe it was just to give me hope that I would at some point get well. But, sometimes things get so bad and it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense what you're going through, but I will share with you whatever you're going through. It may take time, but one day it will make sense, but it can take a long time. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It's a process.
Right.
That's good advice.
I think
there's a lesson in everything. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. My house is getting very dark. I think I need to turn a light on.
Sun is starting to go down. Yeah.
I was going to say it's getting dark here.
Window.
Light! Yay!
It is hard for people when they're at their lowest point to find the strength to keep going.
Right.
To pull out of that hole is very hard.
Really. And I was able to dance for a group of cancer survivors in Orlando called Discover Your Beauty. It was about 400 ladies that had survived cancer, and we were able to dance, my professional partner and my teacher and I had some professional backup dancers, and it was so powerful to do that, though, and I got to share with them, and there again, our experiences are very unique. I have a friend right now, she's suffering through 4 forms of cancer, and she's still trying to fight it, and after I gave my story, people said to me, I've never been through anything like you've been through, but it really is a unique experience for each and every person. But I do believe that each one of us has something to give based on our experiences. And so when I started to say, look back and say, well, now it's starting to make sense. I didn't know why
Right.
I was through it. It didn't make sense. I cried out to God in anger. I was upset. He sent me an angel. I didn't understand any of it. But now that I'm better, I have tools I can help other people with regarding their body, soul, and spirit, and help them with what they're going through. But, it took a long time for me to figure that out. And so no matter what you're going through, it might be anxiety, it might be physical problems. Some people, it may be battling. I have a good friend who's battling a weight problem, and it's devastating for her. But, trying to retrain yourself, how do I eat? How do I exercise? And how do I get through this? But when you get through it and you start seeing improvement and you look back, then you understand, then it starts to make sense.
Well, I think that's why it's important to hear stories of people who have been at that rock bottom in their life and then built up on it. Like, for a long time for me, it was the lady who will no longer be named. She talked about rock bottom was the foundation I built my life off of. And it's like hearing those, then when you're in that moment, you can say, like, you can get through it. Like, other people have survived this and gone on to be what they wanted to be. And so, like, knowing that you can get yourself through harder times as well.
Yeah, and that's true. Like, and again, in my case, it was like relying on God or relying on, something outside of myself. For so long, I felt so bad. And I couldn't see that light. I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel, but I knew that I was still alive. Sometimes I felt I shouldn't be alive. I felt almost guilty for being alive. And that's
Right.
hard to explain when you feel like that. But I really didn't get it at the time. And sometimes you're going through things, you just don't get it. You don't get it until later. But, it's being patient. And like you said, being patient with yourself, doing the best you can in spite of how you feel, and making each day a new day and doing what you can do. And we're all going to have bad days, and not every day is going to be a good day.
Right.
But having that patience to know it's okay. It's okay. You're doing the best you can with the help of your family, with the help of God, and with the knowledge you have at that point. And just, believing for a better tomorrow. And there will be a better tomorrow.
We asked for inspiration at the beginning of this episode, and I think we all got it.
I think so.
I think so.
It's okay. I like the message of it's okay to have a bad day. As long as you
Yes.
know tomorrow, as long as you believe tomorrow could be better.
Right.
There has to be the faith in the following days to come that things will improve.
Very and to let out your feelings and just cry, and to journal your feelings, but to cry out, but not to hold those negative feelings inside. That's really important. So many times people hold it in, and it can make you feel anxious or depressed, but let it out and just kind of cry it out and grieve it out. Then it's just healthier for your body and healthier for your mind. Wow.
Yeah, sadness is a visitor. Let them in, hang out with them for a while. Just don't let them move in.
Exactly.
Kick them out. Feel what you're feeling. Kick them out.
Exactly. That's wonderful advice.
Yes. You have to go through all the stages of grief for every, loss or
right. And that can be losing a job, breaking up with someone. There's so many things that we have to grieve and give ourselves permission to feel, not just literal, we lost someone who, who passed. There's a lot of griefs in our life.
Right. And you just have to allow yourself to go through the stages without feeling guilty about it.
That's, the hard thing about getting older is you do start losing more and more people that are close to you. And for those of us that rely on friendships, that is extremely difficult. And for me, I think about, well, my friend has moved on to a better place. And for me, I just need to go out and maybe make a new friend or two, and seek out new contacts with new people. What can I give to them, or what can we exchange?
Right.
What can I learn from them? But, it's not always that easy, because like I have a friend right now with 4 types of cancer. We've been friends for 35 years. So that's going to be extremely difficult for me when she passes. But I just have to believe that she's going to a better place. And I have to be happy for her in that regard, because right now she's at a point, she's going through immense suffering and pain.
Mm. Yeah.
I cannot imagine. That's got to be so hard on both ends. You as a friend witnessing it and her going through it.
Definitely. And for me, I think she cries, and then sometimes I cry too, but she'll say, Linda, I'm telling you this because I know what you feel. You felt pain, and that's why I'm telling you. And so I just concur with her. It's okay. She told me this week that she had one area of her cancer radiated, and they wanted to go back and do radiation on her brain tumors. And she said, I just can't do anymore. And I said, I understand. You reached that point. You just can't take anymore. But she knows that I understand, but that doesn't make it easier for her or for me. It's still hard.
Yeah. Cancer is such an awful, awful disease when it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But you got to hope they are meant to go on to a better place.
Right.
If they leave this
Definitely.
one.
Definitely. So true.
And that makes it a little easier. You'll see them in the end, wherever that is.
And, people do get fearful, though. I've talked to so many people. They're so fearful about, the COVID-19 and fear of getting sick or the worst case scenario. And for me, it's just like, well, it's not a brain tumor. I mean, for me, it's been different because I've been through so much worse. But I do understand how people can be fearful about that. But I think we have to look at everything in perspective as well.
That's a good way of dealing with it. Take some perspective. Don't just let the fear take hold of you.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's probably a perfect way to end our show, since we're actually at time.
Yes.
So, well, Linda, I'm very happy you were able to sign on. I was worried we weren't going to be able to get on here.
Well, I was too. If I had just come on with my phone to start with, I think next time I'm just going to say, forget the computer. I'm going to go with the phone. But thank you so much. And I enjoyed sharing, and I enjoyed getting to know you ladies a little bit better.
Thank you for coming on, Linda.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
And we will make sure that in our show notes, especially on our YouTube page, that your link is there so people can find your story and see that wonderful video that you told us about.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And again, I enjoyed sharing with you, and I hope that you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
You
as well.
You too.
Thank you.
We go, let's make one more shout out to our second sponsor, Miss Rebekah Jonesy. She's the author of Fantasies, author of Realistic Fantasies. Gotta say it right. Both sexy and killer. I love that line. Her links will be as well in our show notes, as well as the Go Indie Now, which, remember, this Thursday is having their special town hall for Black Lives Matter and what we as artists can do to be a part of that. So be sure to mark your calendar and view that either on their Facebook page or their YouTube channel. And
it's going to be an amazing show.
It will be. I'm looking forward to watching it. And Spilling Ink will not be back next week since it's 4th of July, but we will be back the following week. So like, share, subscribe, mark your calendar, because we'll be back with more people to introduce you to and more subjects to talk about as far as indie authors go. All right.
And on the 6th, quick plug, sorry, In Progress will be on 9 o'clock, first Monday of the month.
Yes.
We'll have an awesome own voices and representation show for you.
Awesome. We'll have to put the link on that for our show notes as well. Shoot that over to me. Okay, Julia?
All right.
All right. Cool deal. We'll see you guys next time.
Thank you. Good